You are very welcome to this, the Bitcoin Tarot podcast for the 1st of June 2018 with me, Cosmic Conroy. Last week, the cards that said that the previous week would look like a walk in the park compared to this week. And then the price of Bitcoin continued to tumble. It tumbled down nearly 8% before recovering and bouncing and coming back up as it has this last few days. The judges have granted me a C because we did promise that once the downturn ended, an upturn would happen. Is this uptick just a small bump, or is it the start of a greater trend? There's only one way to find out, and so of course we'll do our usual 4-card spread. The first card representing the past 7 days, the next card representing the current moment in Bitcoin, the third card representing the future, and a final card representing causality, a reason for the other cards in the timeline. And so let's begin. Our first card represents the past 7 days in Bitcoin, and that card is the Tower. It's the 16th trump card, and as you can see, the Tower is collapsing. It represents a disaster, a catastrophe, and I suppose one could explain the price of Bitcoin over the last few weeks as being a catastrophe until this recent uptick. So, is the uptick this current moment? Let's see what the cards say about that. Our second card represents the current moment in Bitcoin, perhaps during the current little uptick, and that card is the 7 of Cups, Debauch. It represents futility and fantasy and over-exuberance. It seems that the cards think we are in a catastrophe and that the current moment is just a fantasy. What will the next card reveal? Our next card represents the future of Bitcoin, the next 7 days or so in particular, and that card is the 3 of Wands, Virtue. It represents a coming to understanding and seeing the world as it really is. So if this card of debauchery does mean that the current uptick is a fantasy, this would indicate that in the future the fantasy will be seen for what it is, and a return to power, a return to balance will happen. What could be causing all this? Let's check our last card. Our next card represents an overall metastate, a causality, a reason for the timeline. And that card is the 6 of Discs, Success. The card represents an exchange, and usually this is a beneficial exchange in which everyone wins, but in this occasion, when some people are under delusion and likely to see the end of their delusion, I think the meanings have become clear. And so the meaning becomes clear. We're currently in a catastrophe and also currently deluded, and that's why the price is having its uptick. Soon there will become a realization, because some people always succeed in skimming the market. The current uptick is just a blip, and the downturn will soon continue. That's the end of this week's reading. I'd like to do a longer one with perhaps some focus other than price, but to do that I need to take a day off work, and to do that I need you to chip in to pay me to do so. Here's a Bitcoin address. If you send your money here and Bitcoin are in the lead at the end of the fundraiser, then we won't look at any altcoins at all. But if you do like altcoins, here's Ethereum. They're currently in the lead, and if Ethereum continue to be in the lead when we get to the end of the fundraiser, we'll do a side reading on perhaps their upcoming proof of stake. Next up, Ethereum Classic, and if they're in the lead, we might do a side reading on something like an immutable blockchain. Finally, here's Bcash. If Bcash are in the lead at the end, we perhaps will do a reading on block size. There's only 3% of the show funded so far, so it's all still to play for. And if you can't donate, you can always subscribe and upvote and share and like. Until next week, let's hope we have virtue and less debauchery. May the Bitcoin bless you.